Virginians Against Handgun Violence has been working with the business community in Richmond on this issue. So right now I'd like to introduce Buford Scott, chairman of the Scott and Stringfellow, Richmond's oldest investment banking firm. And for those of you from the Richmond area, you probably know that Mr. Scott has been a longtime advocate for the city of Richmond. He's been active in many civic organizations, trying to improve the quality of life for all of Virginians. From his family's donation of land for the founding of the Elk Hill Farm, a residential treatment center for at-risk youth, to his involvement with the Greater Richmond Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Scott has devoted much of his time and effort and considerable energy to improving the lives of all Virginians. Mr. Scott.
Thanks, Jim. Senator Devil Davis. Glad to be here this morning on a subject that interests me greatly. Indeed, if the matter were left up to me, I would require the registration of all firearms in the whole United States. You might say, well, that means that someone can come in and take our firearms away someday. In Windsor, Ontario, where I visited not long ago, they have 0 deaths from shooting by firearms in their community because every gun is registered. If we have the determination to reduce the roughly 30,000 people in this country who are shot each year by firearms, to reduce that to 0, we can do it. It is within our ability to do that. We just have to adopt the registration requirement that has been so successful in Canada. However, that's a big step and probably more than you're willing to consider today. Informed citizens do know that there is not a perfect answer when it comes to balancing our Second Amendment rights with public safety. I, like most of my friends, do not plan to give up my guns. But we also realize that it doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing position, as suggested by the gun lobby's widely known posture of never conceding on any new gun restriction measure. The vast majority of the citizens of Virginia, including gun owners, are more than willing to put up with a few inconveniences for any gain in public safety. A 2% reduction here and a 2% reduction there will eventually add up to a safer society. This is exactly what the public wants. According to a 2004 crime and safety study conducted by the Southeastern Institute of Research here in Richmond, 3/4 of Metro Richmond area registered voters believe the availability of guns is directly related to the level of crime. And they want their elected officials to do something about it. 3/4 say controlling gun sales will be an important issue to them in deciding which candidate they will support in the coming election. Not closing the gun show loophole in the recent Senate votes was a missed opportunity to deliver what 49 police chiefs and 84% of the registered voters across the Commonwealth would like to have happen. According to the crime and safety study, most, if not all, of the potential new gun restriction laws being debated are supported by the vast majority of the Commonwealth's registered voters. I'll give you percentages and tell you what the subject is. 77% support the prohibition of firearms in government buildings and state parks. 80% support adding mental health records to background checks. 82% support prohibiting guns in restaurants and bars. 84% are in favor of a waiting period for all gun purchases. 92% support increased penalties for altering guns. 84% support closing the gun show loophole. Why is the support so high? Perhaps because the loss of perceived personal rights are minimal compared to any potential gains in public safety. After all, how much of a burden is it for a private gun seller at a gun show to pay $5 to the gun show promoter or a licensed dealer in the next booth to run a background check on the potential buyer? For patrons of restaurants and bars, is it really a big inconvenience to leave their guns in the car? To most reasonable people, including gun owners, these are small inconveniences that in no way erode our basic right to bear arms, and together they start to add up to a safer community. Let's stop the gun lobby from hijacking our democratic process. When it comes to gun accessibility, the vast majority of registered voters want more control, not less. And as our and it is important that we enlighten our elected officials who are seemingly out of step with their constituents. Their support for the gun lobby's impassioned fight for personal right to bear arms is simply lost on most of us. What seems to be lost on them is that any small gain is worth the effort. Elected officials must be reminded that the control of gun sales will be an important issue for the majority of voters in this year's election. It is no consolation to the family of someone shot with a gun obtained at a gun show to know that the criminal was among the 2% when closing the gun show loophole could have prevented the purchase of that gun. It is time for more of our elected representatives to vote the will of the people and close the gun show loophole. Thank you.